Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Jashodanandana Brajajanaranjana. Jashodanandana Brajajanaranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Jashodanandana Brajajanaranjana. Jashodanandana Brajajanaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Rukmini Dwarkadish, Rukmini Dwarkadish, Rukmini Dwarkadish, Rukmini Dwarkadish. Jaya Jagana, Jaya Jagana, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Goranitai, 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 Jaya Goranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanandi, Hayaribo, Jayom Vishnu Pad, Paramahansa, Pada Project Acharya, Ashatar Shata Sri Shrimad, ISKCON BBT Founder, Acharya's Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sakahosh Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadvaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopana Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Gira Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Brajaruma Nama Nam Ki Jai. Shri Namarit Mayapur Nam Ki Jai. Shila Chal Jagannath Puri Nam Ki Jai. Ganga Mayi Ki Jai. Chamuna Mayi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. It was beautiful worship. Shri Shukmini Dwarkadesh Ki Jai. Shri Shukmini Dwarkanath Ki Jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai. Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Going back to home, back to Godhead Ki Jai. ISKCON Los Angeles Yatra Ki Jai. Brihad Madanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. International Food for Life Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glory Srila Prabhupada. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamadhirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God and Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, who is a translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashna Praeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttima Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly attending the Srimad Bhagavatam class and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving devotional service unto the personality of God, whose worship of transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're continuing our reading from the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is chapter 24, Kardamu's renunciation. Today's text is 4. Satvayaraditak shuklo Vitanvan mamakang yashaha Chaita te hridaya granthim Audaryo brahmabhavanaha Satvayaraditak shuklo Vitanvan mamakang yashaha Chaita te hridaya granthim Audaryo brahmabhavanaha Satvayaraditak shuklo Vitanvan mamakang yashaha Chaita te hridaya granthim Audaryo brahmabhavanaha. Please chant. Vaishnavis. Okay, synonyms: Saha, he. Tvaya, by you. Araditaha, being worshipped. Shuklaha, the personality of Godhead. Vitanvan, spreading. Mamakam, my. Yashaha, fame. Cheta, he will cut. Te, your. Hridaya, of the heart. Grantim, not. Audaryaha, your son. Brahma, knowledge of Brahman. Bhavanaha, teaching. Srila Prabhupada's translation for this verse. The personality of Godhead being worshipped by you will spread my name and fame. He will vanquish the knot of your heart by becoming your son and teaching knowledge of Brahman. Please repeat. The personality of Godhead being worshipped by you will spread my name and fame. He will vanquish the knot of your heart by becoming your son and teaching knowledge of Brahman. Srila Prabhupada's purport. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes to disseminate spiritual knowledge for the benefit of all people, he generally descends as the son of a devotee, being pleased by the devotee's devotional service. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the father of everyone. Therefore, no one is his father, but by his inconceivable energy, he accepts some of the devotees as his parents and descendants. It is explained here that spiritual knowledge vanquishes the knot of the heart. Matter and spirit are knotted by false ego. This identification of oneself with matter, which is called Hridaya Granthi, exists for all conditioned souls, and it becomes more and more tightened when there is too much affection for sex life. The explanation was given by Lord Rishabha to his sons that this material world is an atmosphere of attraction between male and female. That attraction takes the shape of a knot in the heart, and by material affection, it becomes still more tight. For people who hanker after material possessions, society, friendship, and love, this knot of affection becomes very strong. It is only by Brahma Bhavana, the instruction by which spiritual knowledge is enhanced, that the knot in the heart is cut to pieces. No material weapon is needed to cut this knot, but it requires bona fide spiritual instruction. Kardama Muni instructed his wife Devahuti that the Lord would appear as her son and disseminate spiritual knowledge to cut the knot of material identification. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamine, Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pacharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavani Paschachadeshtarine. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya, Chakshur Unmilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishnang Shnapi Chang Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandayahang Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Purjana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivashakan Vitangscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuve Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we have resident and visiting Mauritians in this community, and yesterday they were all taking lunch in Govinda, so I kind of teased them a little bit. I said, you moody Mauritians, you moody Mauritians. And they all laugh because there's some truth to it. You know, here you have a beautiful island. I've never been there, but I've seen pictures, videos, and I'm also from an island myself, Jamaica. You know, all natural beauty, all natural resources, and unlimited practically fruits and veggies and stuff. But still, people who live there, grow up there, they're not happy. They want to go elsewhere. They're moody. So Devahuti is not like that here. She's not being a moody princess, getting on her husband's case unnecessarily. Not like that. Her lamentation is not materially motivated. Prabhupada used to say quite often that lamentation is the hallmark of the Shudras. Shudras lament. They hanker for things they don't have, and then when they get them, they're still not satisfied, or they lose them, then they lament. So this hankering and lamentation is hallmark of the Sudras. A Brahmana shouldn't hanker or lament. A Brahmana should be satisfied in all circumstances. And even if the Brahmana gets a lot, Prabhupada would say, if some or other, you're a Brahmana and you get a lot, you take what you need for your maintenance and you give the rest away in charity to proper recipients of charity, not just anybody, as we've discussed many times. You know, many people are a little bit charitably disposed, even the worst of the worst. Like there's a joke in Christianity that one guy was so bad, he was a mafioso, never did a good thing in his life, stealing, killing, etc., etc. But one day he was going down the street with one of his mafioso friends, and there was a guy on the street begging, and he said, "Come on, you have so much money in your pocket, give the guy something." He grudgingly gave the guy $5. So then, at the end of his life, judgment, they were getting ready to drag him to hell. No, don't take me. No. You've never done a good thing. No, I gave somebody $5. Really? So they took him to St. Peter's, and St. Peter looked at the records. Yeah, he actually gave $5, but I don't think he belongs in heaven. So he went to God and said, "What should I do?" He said, "Give him back his $5 and send him to hell." So everybody's got a little bit of charitable disposition in them, but where to properly give charity, that has to be learned from Guru Shastra Sadhu. So again, Devahuti's lamentation is not motivated by something material. If we remember the last verse of the previous chapter, which somewhere or other when I first read Bhagavatam, it just stuck in my mind. Sohang Bhagavato Nunam, Vanchita Maya Ajinam. Yes, Tvam Vimuktidam Prapya, Nama Mukshaya Bhadanat. She addressed her husband as my Lord. My Lord, surely I've been subtly cheated by the insurmountable material energy of the Supreme. Why? Why did she say that? Because although I had your association, which can give liberation, I didn't try for liberation. So she wasn't lamenting that you're leaving home and you're not leaving enough money to take care of things and you're not leaving enough. No, she was lamenting that she didn't take proper advantage. So all of us here are in a similar situation. We have the association of an undisputed pure devotee of the Lord. And we should take advantage of that. And Prabhupada explained how to take advantage of his presence, his munificence. Read his books, try to live according to the statements there. Try to pass on the good fortune to others. Because it's very, very rare that somebody gets this opportunity to actually hear and understand what is going on. And that understanding doesn't necessarily come immediately. I think most of you here in this room have read the entire Srimad Bhagavatam at least once. Yes? Some of us have read it repeatedly, and here in this temple we start over again. We get to end of 10th canto, and then we start over again with the first canto. Why not 11, 12? Some people ask, because the essence of what Prabhupada came to give the world is concentrated in this first three cantos, first, second, and third canto. So it's, especially since new people keep coming, we find it expedient to go back to the first canto again. So we've been through that loop so many times, most of us. And we've read, when I joined, they said, read Prabhupada's books just for information the first time. Don't necessarily stop and try to figure things out. Just read, cover to cover. And then you go back and then you can read it slowly and try to understand what Prabhupada is saying. And I've also stated many times that Arcita Prabhu once, he may not even remember, but he once gave a formula. I asked him, how do you read? What is your approach to reading Prabhupada's books? And he said, well, I try to read 10 pages a day of each of the major books, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion, 10 pages a day. And at that rate, 30 days in a month, you will read a 300-page book in 1 month, times 4. If you're reading 4 300-page books, in 30 days, you've read 4 books. You know, so like that. But as we say, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. It's not a 1 time or 2 time or 3 times thing. One devotee once I saw was having a morose episode, like we were talking about morose Mauritians, having an episode of being in moroseness. So I inquired what's going on, and I suggested to this person that they should read Prabhupada's. I've read Bhagavad Gita 10 times, and I've read Bhagavatam at least 3 times. Read it again, and again, and again. Because it's not just words on paper. It's meant to penetrate. That is today's point that's being made. It's meant to penetrate the heart. Hridaya Granthi. And that knot is so tight because it's been placed in the heart since time immemorial, and practically every thought, word, and deed makes it tighter. So it takes a while to cut through that knot in the heart. This is what Kardama Muni is telling Devahuti, that I will give you a son, and his contribution to you will be to teach you how to untie that knot in the heart. Prabhupada referenced Rishabhdev teaching his son the same thing, that how is this knot continually tightened? Because we are looking at each other, I don't see a knot in you, you don't see a knot in me. But it becomes evident by the way we conduct ourselves, by our thinking, which leads to feeling, which leads to willing, which leads to action. So you can judge a person by what they do, not just by what they say. Because people can say anything. People make all kinds of promises that they don't keep, which is not good. Vedic culture is pretty much based on keeping your word. It's one of the 64 qualities of Krishna. Sudrida Brataha. Very determined to maintain vows. So God himself sets that example. So we should do that. But you can tell we're a person's that by what they actually do, not just what they say. So this not, Rishabhdev informed his sons, Pungsa, Striya, Amitun, and Bhavaeta. Tayo Meto, Hridaya Granthi Ahu. Ata, Griha, Kshetra, Sutapta Vitar, Janasya Mahoyam, Ahang Mameti. So this is the problem in a nutshell. By nature, we are pleasure-seeking. We want to be happy, but we don't know where to look for happiness. This is what brought me to the movement. I got that one pamphlet, Christian Reservoir of Pleasure, from Deva Amrita Das Brahmachari at the time. And the very first paragraph, Prabhupada grabbed me. If you read that little pamphlet, Krishna, that name is transcendental. Krishna means the highest pleasure. Every one of us is looking for pleasure, but we don't know where to look. So this is what keeps us bound up. We want to be happy, we want pleasure, but we keep looking in the wrong place. Generally, we come back to this pungsa striya. The man is attracted to the woman is attracted to the man, which is not artificial. Attraction is a natural consequence of life. But that attraction is perfect in the spiritual realm where everything and everyone is attractive and everything and everyone is attracted to the supreme source of attraction, of pleasure, Krishna. So this is a secret for untying the knot. Being convinced to turn away from activities that lead to further tightening of this knot and engage in activities which loosen that knot, which make us qualified for liberation. But to get there, we have to give up one very, very bad feature of material life, and that is enviousness. And Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita. Idang te tu guyatamam prabhakshami anusuyave. He's telling Arjuna, I'm going to give you knowledge, jnanam ajnanam sahitam, yajgyatva moksha shubat. This knowledge will qualify you to become liberated. And why am I giving you this knowledge? Anasuyave, because you're not envious. And this envy is such a debilitating force. It's such a degrading emotion. But due to envy, people do all kinds of crazy things. Prabhupada said envy means I have a right to a certain status or a certain things in life, but you don't want me to have it. You're envious. And it's not just because the person is above you. Quite often people who are in high positions are envious of those who are below them. They have enough money, they have enough power, they have enough of everything, but they're so envious they don't want those who are in a lower rung to make any progress. And they will do their best to impede them from making any progress. That's envy in a nutshell. So we have to be very, very careful. It's there in the heart, along with this knot. It's part of that knot. Part of what keeps the knot tight is envy. Envy of other living entities. And that envy on the spiritual path, Bhaktisiddhanta referred to as jiva hingsa. Not only trying to deny something from somebody that they should have by birthright or inheritance or whatever, but not assisting them in getting out of this Hridaya Granthi, not assisting them in going forward spiritually. That is called jiva hingsa. In other words, if one is actually experiencing the pleasure, the joy of Krishna consciousness, then one naturally should want to give it to others. So we can tell by action. Of course, just by being a member of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, we get big credit, because the movement as a whole is meant to take everybody out of this envious material consciousness back to the original joyful spiritual consciousness. But we shouldn't just be passive about it, we should be active. In other words, Prabhupada left us not just a house, it's a moving house. And it's a house that can accommodate unlimited residents. Just like if you read Srimati Radharani's pastimes, it's stated, or actually the description of the marks on her feet. So one of the marks on Radharani's feet is this chariot. There's a chariot with wheels. And it's stated that in that chariot, she can accommodate unlimited gopi girlfriends when they want to go from one place to another. Unlimited. So this Krishna consciousness movement, this ISKCON, is like that. It can accommodate unlimited, moody, downtrodden, unhappy persons suffering in this material world and turn them into happy practitioners of Krishna consciousness. So we should actively try to do that. And it's not that everybody's going to be necessarily of the mood of being out on the street every day. But wherever you go, whoever you meet, you can inject a little Krishna consciousness, beginning with just the way you dress. You know, it's not that I'm going to Trader Joe's, so I have to wash off my tilak and put on what we call karmi clothes. No, you can go in your devotional clothes. And you'd be surprised how many times somebody will come up and either ask you because they've never seen. Wearing tilak is such a powerful thing. I used to, in the early 90s, I was in San Diego, but I had to come up and deal with BBT activities from time to time. Javid and I were based in San Diego, so I would drive up, drive back, drive up, drive back. Finally, I decided to stop and just live in. Since 96, I'm here. But anyway, on one such trip, wearing my devotee outfit, wearing tilak, was late, and I wanted to get back down some. So we're the 405 and the 10, not the 10, the 110, where they come together. I just burst through that, and I was going pretty fast. So there was a motorcycle cop, so he pulled in behind me, pulled me over. He said, "Didn't you see me?" I said, "No." So he looks at me, devotional clothes, tilak. He said, "What is this?" I said, "I'm a Hare Krishna monk. Have you ever heard of the Hare Krishnas?" He said, "No." He was honest. So I joked with him. I said, "Where are you from? The moon?" He said, "No, Missouri." So then he said, "Okay, don't do it again." So like that, just by dressing, I'm not saying you should speed and try to get out of it, but just by being dressed like a devotee. Prabhupada was not in favor of us speeding. There was one time Prabhupada came to New York, and one devotee came from upstate, and he got there just in time, and he was bragging to the other devotees, "I was doing 90 on the freeway just to get," and Prabhupada heard it and said, "Tell him not to do that." Follow the law. But the point is, it has an effect on people. Just by dressing, you're preaching. Just by dressing as a devotee and wearing tilak, that's preaching. And what to speak of, again, even if you're not a full-time book distributor, if you, well, on your way to Trader Joe's, keep a few books in the car, you'll be surprised again how many people will be amenable to taking one. So this breaking of the knot in the heart, this is a subject. In Devahuti's case, she's going to get a son. Now, normally, we have some mothers in this room. Normally, the mother is teaching the son. But in this particular case, this is not an ordinary son. This is Shaktavesh avatar of the Lord, and he is going to instruct his mother, and through his mother, all of us, by giving this complete Sankhya philosophy to his mother, which has been preserved and passed down, because this happened a long, long, long time ago. And this is what Parampara is meant to do. It's meant to preserve not just the original teachings, but explanations of the teachings. Just like we saw Gopal Krishna Maharaj, some of you were here when that was shown, Gopal Krishna Maharaj's memories of Prabhupada. And one of the things he said was that when he was trying to distribute Prabhupada's books and wasn't having such success, and they were going to Kumbh Mela, and somebody suggested that, if you guys would just print a Bhagavad Gita with just the verses, you could print so many, it would be cheaper, you could print so many and practically give them away. It would be so cheap. So he went to Prabhupada and asked, "Prabhupada, I think this is a good idea. Should we do?" Prabhupada said, "No. My purports have to be there. Because if there are no purports, then people speculate. They interpret any way they want." And this is what's going on with other religious traditions. Their books are interpreted and reinterpreted, and everybody gives their opinion. And because they think that's what it's meant for. You're supposed to extract from it what you want. No, the Vedic literature has a specific meaning that only the devotees of the Lord know. Those who are non-devotees. And then I want to end with this. Maybe, Sham, can you put on the screen First Canto, Chapter 2, Divinity and Divine Service, 21, text 21, which is the last in the series of 5 famous verses that you all should know, beginning with Srinvatam Shakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana, Hridyantakso Hibajani, Vidanot, and then Dashta Prayeshu Bhadrayeshu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavati Utamashloke, Bhakti, and then Tadarajastamo Bhavo, Kama Chaita Echaranam. Then Evam Prasana Manaso, Bhagavan Bhakti Yogat. And then this one. So this verse that we're going to discuss. Now the reason I'm bringing this up because it also deals with this Hridaya Granti. Vidyate Hridaya Grantis Chidyante Sarvasangsaya. Chianti Chasta Karmani, Jishtra Eva Manishwari. Now, there is a little bit of misunderstanding about the translation of this verse, and that's another reason why I'm bringing it up. Because it says, one can destroy the karma by when one sees the self as master. Now, in the translation that we have currently in the books, it's a small s, but it should be a cap s, and I've discussed that with Rabbi, and hopefully they'll fix it when the revised Bhagavatam comes out finally. So some people don't agree, but I'm going to give the proof in Prabhupada's own purport. Just call it up on my own screen. Yeah. So in the final paragraph, go down to the last paragraph of the purport. So again, it says, when one sees the self as master, which we all are, it sounds attractive. That's what we want to do. We want to see ourselves as master. But no, it's specifically referring to the Supreme Self. And Prabhupada makes that clear in the final paragraph of that purport, which I'll read. Yes, that right there. So it says, this enlightenment perfectly enables the devotee to distinguish spirit from matter, because the knot of spirit and matter is untied by the Lord. It's not us, no matter what we do, it eventually, ultimately has to be untied by the Lord. This knot is called ahankara, and it falsely obliges the living being to become identified with matter. As soon as this knot is loosened, therefore, all the clouds of doubt are at once cleared off. One sees his master, not that one sees himself as master. This is the point. One sees his master and fully engages himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, making a full termination of the chain of fruitive action. In material existence, a living being creates his own chain of fruitive work and enjoys the good and bad effects of those actions life after life. But as soon as he engages himself in the loving service of the Lord, not my service of myself, he at once becomes free from the chain of karma. His actions no longer create any reaction. So it's not that one sees himself or herself as master. When one sees the Supreme Self as master, then this Hridaya Granthi is broken, fruitive activities, fruitive reactions are ended, and then one becomes eligible for liberation. So any questions on any of these points? Yes, Deva Arcita Prabhu.
I really liked your point about this Jiva Himsa. I was just wondering if you can speak about some insights you have on how we can improve the atmosphere so people feel more welcomed.
Which atmosphere? You mean at the temple?
Just at the temple, and yeah, at the temple, to make people feel more welcome when they're coming here, creating a culture where it's about them.
We say that, but we can only do our best. You cannot make, because if it's like somebody who's pretending to be asleep, you can't wake them up. So some people, it's not that there's just one formula that works for everybody. But generally what works is interpersonal reaction. So if whoever you come across, make sure you try to make that interaction as nice as possible. Sometimes it's not possible because the person is in such a mood that it doesn't, whatever you do or say doesn't seem to have immediate effect. But something goes in. The famous example I like to use is that servant of Satsarup Maharaj, who had been a punk. This is in London. He was from Ireland. So he's walking down the street in London and he sees a group of devotees chanting. And he just walked up and kicked one of them, just out of anger. Bad mood. But after some time and getting books and reading them, he became a devotee. So somebody can start in a very, very bad. Another example is in New York. In the winter months, the devotees used to go down in the subway. I don't know if they still do it. They used to go down in the subway, put down a madras, harmonium, mridanga, play and chant Hare Krishna, and somebody or one or two devotees would go around handing out books. And there was a guy who had a bookstall down in the subway, and he hated the devotees. And he would come out of his stall and tell people, don't buy their books, they're cheaters, they're this, they're that, and it's a cult, and that went on for a long time, but over years of hearing the devotees chant, his heart completely changed. And instead of chasing people away, he would tell them, come back, buy these books, they're good. So we can't always tell what effect we're having, and it's not always your fault if something doesn't go right. Some people are just ensconced in such a mood that it's very difficult to get through to them. And this can continue for a long time. It can continue. We see there are persons who are, on the surface, they look like devotees. They come here, they chant Hare Krishna, they eat prasadam, but they hate ISKCON. And they go out and say bad things against ISKCON. So devious. So as a society, yes, we should try our best. Of course, starting with the outreach, and when they finally come, we should try to give them a very warm reception. I happen to be present. I've told this story before, but this happened in San Diego, 90 or 91. I happened to be just when the Sunday Feast program was starting, I was outside, and a car pulls up, and a young boy, compared to my age, he was a boy, steps out of the car, and had a conversation with the older man who dropped him off, and then the person drove away, and he went in. So later on, that boy, I saw what happened, and I immediately approached and, hey, welcome, first time here, like that, we chatted. Turned out he was in his last year of high school. The previous year, he found the Bhagavad Gita in a used bookstore, and he started reading, and he wanted to have contact with devotees. So his parents were divorced, so he was living with the father, and he told the father he wanted to go, and then, yeah, sure, you wanted, yeah. So the father took him, dropped him off. And long story short, he became a devotee, became initiated. But before that, his mother came, because she now, her son is involved with the Hare Krishna, she knows nothing about it. So the first time she walks through the door, Radha Giridhari, San Diego, first thing she says, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful." So everybody comes in a different mood. She was open enough to have that direct interaction with the deities, first time she's seen them. So it's not really up to us. We can't, in other words, we can't predict what's going to happen, but we should just try our best. One thing we should always be ready to do is give prasadam. Prabhupada would be very angry if somebody came to the temple and left without prasadam. And he even said that famous statement, if there is no prasadam, somebody can go in the kitchen and in 15 minutes, you can make puris and eggplant sabji. Offer it and give it to the guests. So Prabhupada was very, very keen that they should not leave without prasadam because the potency of prasadam is there. So everybody can do that. If somebody comes, there's nothing in the temple, run to the kitchen to see if there's anything there. Even take out some cold burfi, it doesn't matter. Just like Prabhupada gave that man in his well-dressed suit a gulab jamun. The juice was dripping all over. So don't be so concerned about the externals. They must get some prasadam. Subhas wants to say something.
Thank you for a nice class. You just reminded me what kind of individuals come. We had this one devotee, he became a devotee, and he would be out by the temple in Denver, and when he would see the devotees, he'd throw rocks at them. And, we would always threaten him from a distance, and he'd curse at us and everything. So one day, his craziness was so intense that he came into the temple room, and he saw Srila Prabhupada's Vyasasana. And we didn't have a murti there at the time, just a photo. So he decided to sit on the Vyasasana. So the devotees came running, telling me, and so we chased him, and we gave him a lot of mercy with our fists.
I'm sure.
And he was crying.
Was Nakama there?
I don't recall if you were there, Nick. And so...
some Chicago love.
Yeah, so he was, he was straightened out somewhat. But what's really amazing is that he later became initiated, Panchanand, became a devotee. So, that wasn't a very good greeting. But the point is, there's different kinds of situations. And, if we act accordingly, it works for, some people of that caliber, it works to straighten them out. And they can become a devotee. So I thought. Yeah, and
Prabhupada appreciated that. There's that famous incident from the first New York Rath Yatra. Prabhupada, after the Rath Yatra, was giving a lecture, and one guy kept interrupting and yelling. And so, I don't know if you know, Maninath Basu, our godbrother, really tall, black body, really tall. He was about 60. Mike, you remember him? really tall, about 6'8", 6'9", really tall. So he just got frustrated with this guy interrupting Prabhupada. He got up and he bopped him one in the mouth, knocked him out cold. And later on, Prabhupada saying, who was that devotee? He was so nice. He knocked that guy out. Yeah, so sometimes argumentum ad baculum. You have to use a stick. Not, willy-nilly, but sometimes it's required. And that's why we need some of our members to be trained as chartiers. Not that everybody should walk around with a gun and a stick. But Prabhupada said right here that security means some of your men have to be trained how to use guns and sticks. Right here in New York, I said that. Okay, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanand.